you have so many repeat artists. It's not just one record you work on with somebody, you work on singles, albums, EPs over a length of 2-3 years period of time. How do you stay in those teams, keep people coming back? All right, if you've listened to some of the most forward-thinking records in the last couple of years, chances are you've already heard Jayda Love's work. She's a Grammy Award-winning mixing engineer with credits that include Doechii, Janelle Monae, Psy P, and June Freedom. But what sets Jayda apart aren't just her credits and accolades, it's her ability to bring a unique sonic fingerprint to every record. And the proof is in her repeat clients, the names that keep looping back. So today I'm excited to dive into how she carves out individuality in each mix, balances her workload without burning out, and builds the kind of trust that keeps people returning project after project. Welcome to the Loud AF Club podcast, where we cut through the noise and go straight to the source. Today, Jayda Love, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. That was like the best intro I've ever gotten, by the way. So thank you so much.
Well, it's the most truthful intro, because when I'm prepping for this call, I go on your Muso AI, and it's always good, seeing everybody with their credits and seeing what they worked on. But you have so many repeat artists. So it's not just one record you work on with somebody, you work on singles, albums, EPs over a length of 2-3 years period of time. And I'm like, this is very interesting, because a lot of people with some big credits will have one or two sprinkled here, but you have consistently been in the careers of Doechii and also Janelle for a period of time now, which I think is a credit to you. So I'm curious, how do you stay in those teams, keep people coming back, like as in build that up?
Yeah, now that you say that, I kind of realize that all of my clients I've been working with for like a good amount of time now. And I always usually start out as a recording engineer. It kind of is that like in studio relationship and dynamic. And really just from a basic, just bare basic standpoint is being reliable and consistent. It's like, I think it all kind of starts there. If somebody walks into the studio with me, they know genuinely how they're going to sound. They know that I'm going to be there and be on time. They know that the studio is not going to be a pigsty and a mess. That they can usually count on me to take care of certain things before they even step into the room, so they don't have to worry about being in the studio and can just focus on the music that we're going to be making that day. And so that, combined with me just kind of above and beyond stuff, like I always like to just, if they're looking for help, I'm always there to offer it. I've organized hard drives for people. I've updated studios, set up home studios, worked in live for some artists, just kind of anywhere they might need help in the audio realm that I know I'm capable. I always like to offer it. I think it just kind of solidifies your importance, but also just like makes their lives easier. I don't think people tend to want to keep people around that just make their lives easier. And so if I can do that, that's kind of, I want to.
Okay, fair enough. So with one of those, reliability, consistency, how do you keep yourself accountable to those standards outside of getting in a DAW and jumping in and doing your thing? Outside of the actual session, how do you keep yourself accountable to consistently be that person that is reliable and can deliver?
I kind of have to credit my father. Just kind of growing up, I played sports, and so he was very much on the mind frame of, if you're 15 minutes early, you're late kind of thing. Or if you're on time, you're late. 15 minutes early is on time kind of thing. So just growing up with that in mind, I'm like a compulsive planner. Like if I know I have a session and it's at a studio that I might not have been to, I'm getting there hour to 45 minutes early just so I can set up and do what I need to do, because I just know that. And sometimes, yes, you might be sitting around, but like at least you're prepared. And then if I have a client that we're working at their home, I might not show up to the actual closer time that we're recording because I don't want to intrude on their home, an hour before they're expecting me. You just kind of those things that you can kind of figure out as you do them. But in terms of holding myself accountable, it's kind of that just mind frame where if I had any job, I would probably hold myself to the same standard of being on time, being prepared, that sort of thing. And I think if you didn't maybe grow up with those values or those practices. It's something that you can learn by observing engineers. If you're a runner, if you're an assistant or whatever, you can watch people, not only the technical thing that they're doing, but just the business side of how they're doing the preparation. You can see that people that take time and put in effort outside of sitting down at the computer, that they have a clientele, and you might compare that to people who don't, and you'll find your workflow that works best for you by observing and practicing and putting in reps.
Okay, interesting. I've got sort of two paths I want to take here, but we'll close the sort of loop on this prep pass. Part of it is you're going to a new studio space, you get there an hour early. What are you looking for in the studio in terms of the space, the gear? What are you reaching for? What makes you stop and say, okay, I'm ready for the artist to come in now?
Got you. So I've learned this because I came up in Chicago, and LA is very different studio environment than Chicago or even like New York. Every city is different. And so when I got out to LA, like the runner, studio assistant, like engineer line didn't really exist in Chicago. It was kind of like you were an intern and you were a studio, like that you were an engineer. Like that was kind of it. So the intern did everything the assistant did, everything the runner did, all of that. So getting to LA, it's like, okay, who's a studio assistant for the day? What's their number? If I bring an Apollo to record in, because a lot of times I work off my own rig, patching me in, making sure that that's working, making sure there's a mic in the booth, there's a mic in the room, there's a scratch mic if I know an artist that mainly does scratch vocals or writes in the room. Headphones, making sure that the headphones are at a decent volume and can go obscenely loud, because artists are artists and they like things that go really loud. Making sure like my template, we're getting good signal flow. If I know a producer's coming, I'll make sure that there's like a workstation for a producer and a patchable aux that they can plug into. And not only we can monitor, but we can record them if we need to. And then it depends on the artist. If I know the producer and we have like something that they have a demo that already exists, I'll try to make sure I already have the files for those, so they're not sitting waiting for me to prep something or waiting for someone to send something or download anything. It's kind of those little prep things. And I think once a Pro Tools session is open, blank template with signal, all the auxes are ready, I'm getting sound, the assistant's there, I think I'm kind of ready for the day, sort of. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you checklist that, or that's just auto for you at the moment?
It's auto at the moment. It's kind of just, it depends on, I'm all over the place. I'm not like home to one specific studio. So it can change depending on where I'm at. If I have a place that's just outboard gear and in the box, like, then it's a different checklist versus if I'm at a studio with a board and for tracking piano or drums or whatever, the checklist kind of varies on that.
Okay, cool. That's really cool, because it's something I think is underappreciated, because we can glorify the techniques once the artist is in. And it's like, well, what about everything that makes that artist super happy, super comfortable in the
Yeah.
zone? Like, I've heard nightmare stories, I will not say artist names or engineers or producers, where shit has hit the fan because things just haven't been hooked
Just
up. And
anything. Yeah, just the
any little thing.
unpreparedness. Engineers will get blamed for stuff that's completely out of their control. And so for stuff like that, that's just me as a person. Depending on how it's said to me, I'll usually take it on the chin if it's said in a disrespectful manner. Put myself in those situations. But everything that is within my control, I like to make sure that is ready. So I can control if the mic is on, I can control if the headphones are, I can control all of these things. Pro Tool crashes because the studio computer hasn't been emptied since 2006. That's something a little out of my control. But if I can fix it, I can. But it's just anything within your control, try to knock it out and, take the rest on the chin.
Actually, that's actually a really good segue to the second sort of like part I wanted to go into.
Mm-hmm.
On, having your clients coming back to you, there's a certain thing that happens. Their expectations are met or exceeded. And what I'm curious is, because you're mixing records too, you're not just at the genesis of it where they're putting it together and they're making a brainchild. You're all the way through to the handoff to the mastering engineer, where up and until D-Day, they could be They could be changing out a whole line or adding ad-libs or sending you a stem or a voice memo. So how have you found as a mixing engineer managing client expectations, but also meeting and exceeding them? Because, and the reason why I say a big because here is each artist you work with and your work you're recognized for has very unique sounds. So when new clients come on board, they know you for records that aren't theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole expectation thing, how are you managing it?
I think having a clear communication about what, like just even laying out what the expectations are. And especially if it's a new client, really talking about references, even if they're of my work or if they're just of other people's work, especially with new clients, I think is a really important conversation to have. And then also expressing what is needed for me to give you the best product. I did a mix about a month and a half ago for an artist who's really, really, really good. We actually worked together on the record. I don't think it's out yet though. But for that project, I knew their manager, but the files that I got did not match up to the reference, their final reference that they had. So there was some vocals missing. They sent me all the tracks were mono, so all the panning had been set to 0. And the record already felt really good. And so I communicated like, hey, if you don't want to rebalance, fine. I have Pro Tools, I have Logic, I have Ableton. If you want to send me the session so I can replicate where you guys have currently left off. And that way, if the expectation is to get a better record, we both have the same starting point versus me trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to basically spend half my time work to where you already are and then push it forward. So if we're both starting here, I have this much more energy to elevate what you already have. So that communication of what you expect from the record and then me having what I need to get to that expectation, I think is a really good recipe for success. I'm not sure if that totally answers the question,
No,
but
that perfectly answers the question because, and I said this in the last episode with Cohen Haldens and pretty much every other engineer I've spoken to, and I like to pry into the nuance of each person's answer to this, is that communication is number one, and everybody has their own method or way of communicating. Number two, across mixing engineers, what I'm finding is that the producers are baking in so much of the sound into the way they produce of the mix that to go from dry stems is nightmare. Like it's just, you
yeah.
don't want to do it because everything's been signed off on. So that's actually really cool. I really appreciate the fact you're not the only engineer. There's a lot of engineers that have every single DAW and will onboard that. Do you onboard it as frozen tracks or do you have a whole suite of plugins?
It depends. It depends, honestly, on the material that I get. If ideally I would get, the production stems like instrumental as is, just how the producer wants it. Especially producers now, they take so much time into picking out the sounds that they want and shaping them and sculpting them. I think it would just be kind of a disservice. And some producers even know, like Monte Booker will know if you just put like 1 to 2 dB of compression on his kick. Like he can hear things like that. So it's just, I don't know, it's paying respect to that. And then like for vocals, if I can get them as wet but as flexible as possible. So if it's just your chain and the effects are separate, or if I have screenshots of reverbs, and because that's all feeling. That's all. At the end of the day, you're not trying to change the feeling of the record. That's really what it comes down to. And is as you work from drier or unbalanced or whatever you wanna call it, if it changes the feeling, especially if it's a first time client or whatever, and you send them back something that feels fundamentally different than what they sent you, that's never a good sign. So as much it's not. So as much as I can get it close to the reference that you have and as flexible as possible, that's great. If we have to print stuff down, let's do it. Let's do whatever's gonna get us to the next step.
Yeah. And something else I realize, and this is for anybody who might not be familiar with Jayda's work, I'd really encourage you to go listen to it. Any project you've worked on doesn't sound like a quote unquote mix in terms of I can't hear you pushing the kick drum. I can't hear you compressing the vocal. Like it feels like the song, and this is why I really want to get into your mix philosophy, because I didn't even know you were mixing half the records on June's project until early this year, and we worked on most of it last year. And then it's only because Clinton pulled me up and he's like, dude, why'd you tag me as the mixing engineer? I'm not the mixing engineer on this. I'm like, okay. Sorry, who is it? Jayda. Okay, I'll put Jayda. And then I'm like, oh, this mix sounds pretty good. And then more came in. And then I started recognizing, wait, there's a bit of a nuance in here. In terms of, because I think you're at a stage in your career on the technical side from our previous discussions and what you're exploring is that you're sort of like in a constant evolution of discovering how you're engaging in this craft as a mixing engineer, as a creative, as a professional. How do you balance the learning and experimentation technical side where you're judging yourself as a professional because you will judge yourself harder than anybody else? How do you balance that and keeping a pure and creative output for the artist? Because that's a real dichotomy.
It is. It's something that I'm trying to figure out for myself. It's really interesting you asked that question. I remember a couple years after I came to LA, I made this joke where I was like, I can't consume any more new information. I'm going to my head's going to explode. I think it's just because, especially with this career, it's so pressured to be like, there's no plan B. It's only plan A. Like, learn as much as you can. Say yes to every session. Say yes to watch every mixing tutorial. Watch it. And I was very much that: podcast, YouTube videos, books. I was changing my recording template like every other day because I saw something new and I updated mine. And it was just like the constant want to get better, not only for my sake, but especially when you get involved and invested in these artists, especially people who are as experimental with their sounds like Janelle or Doechii. It's like you want to be able to offer them more as they grow. So it's like for Doechii, she loves to experiment with effects, but also live while recording. So it's like I need to find out some low latency things that we can do so that she feels inspired to record into. It's doing research not only for yourself and your personal growth, but also for the art that you're working on. And trying to balance that is difficult. I kind of try to recognize what stage I'm in and kind of take it the way I can handle it. If I feel very like pressured or overwhelmed, and obviously it's hard to express that, or even if you can while you're in a session, it's very much just kind of still instilling that confidence of you can do it. I try to take some time when I'm not in a session maybe and pull up a session that we have worked on and continue to experiment with effects when I have a more controlled environment and less on a time crunch, and then maybe go back into the studio and be like, hey, I was working on this. I know we might have not dialed it in perfectly that day, but I tried some more after I went home, and I think this might be a closer effect to what we're looking for. That's kind of how I deal with sometimes when I might be too overwhelmed, is kind of when I have the privilege to do it on my time, doing it on my time. And just kind of rolling back and demoing this plugin and trying this and just, yeah, kind of just taking more time with it, especially with like rap vocals. Everything's so quick and so fast. That comp song done, next song, beats already pulled up next, and it's only been an hour into the session. So being able to take time and to really flush out sounds and tones and doing that on my time has kind of brought more of a creative, lively lift in that, and expanding my creative on the technical side. And then overall, I think it kind of elevates the whole thing because now we have a better product and a better mind frame. Sorry, I feel like it was kind of a ramble answer, but
No,
and
it like,
long.
if I could distill that into something, it's almost like you just literally have to switch into modes.
Yeah,
You're like,
kind of. I'm a
I'm
very like
here,
compartmentalized person, I guess.
but
Yeah.
that's needed, because if you didn't, or not if you didn't, but if you don't compartmentalize your role, you lose the actual. Are you having a decent?
hmm I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah. No, that's
I can
cool. No,
tape
don't
it
be
if you're
sorry. I love
non-sponsored.
DC. No. No, no, DC's my thing. That's all cool. I just saw it and I'm like, that's sick. Soda. I'm not cutting that because that's magic. No, the reason why I say not just you, but I think anybody, it's easy to get distracted on ancillary things, even when you're in session for your clients. But ultimately, by compartmentalizing it, you do not lose your primary focus. Because I've seen many times where an engineer will start messing around with effects and techniques in front of an artist and experimenting. And then the artist is thrown because they're like, I don't really care whether you put it through a 76 or an LA2A or whatever. I just want to capture my vocal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't lose sight of the task. So I think that compartmentalizing is perfectly good. And you know, that is a good segue into the next thing, which is like you've set boundaries for like, I'm in the studio with the artist, I'm performing for them. I get there an hour early, get everything set up. I know what I can control, and I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. And then outside of that time, I'll experiment, I'll deliver. In terms of boundaries in general, because we are tasked with so much stress and just responsibility, because if we slip at any point, it is a major sticking thing for like artists or producers or anybody involved in a project to be like, that was a little bit difficult. We might not come back to Jayda or to Nick or to somebody. How do you set boundaries for yourself on a personal level so that way you can, you know, like you're respected, but also you engage competently with your tasks?
I have been fortunate enough to never get cussed out in the chair, knock on wood. But I also think I don't set off a vibe or like create an environment for myself that would allow that type of thing. Call it the universe, call it fate, whatever. But I have been very fortunate for a clientele who not only respects me as an engineer, but as a person. And I try to throw myself into camps and offer that above and beyond for everybody, but really push to continue working with people I see that in. Just by checking on them as humans. It's not even like we don't have to work together, but regardless if we work together, I'll support you kind of vibe. And I get that vibe back from them. I've had people that I've worked with where over the past couple months, and as rates have gone up and things are just like, I can't afford you anymore, but I'm happy for you. And I wouldn't want to give you anything less. And it's like, I'll go back with them and I'll say, since you work, we can make something work. And we'll always, but that mutual respect of, I respect where you're going. It's not like, oh, you switched up and you did it, whatever. I think they respect where I'm going on my journey. And so I think that's just the kind of environment I've been fortunate enough to be in and curate. And I really try to, if I am in a situation that is, you know, kind of detrimental to myself, whether it's mentally, physically, or even career-wise, I try to do my best to, one, it might be a fault of mine, give the benefit of the doubt and have a dialogue. And if it's something that's too far gone, remove myself and take breaks. And, you know, maybe it's not something where I have to completely cut ties, but offer help from a distance while I can, you know, go work through whatever I need to work through. It's just sometimes it's not worth it. And I'm fortunate enough to be at a place in my career where I can say no and be okay. And I think that's a lot of the times where that stress comes in for engineers is if I say no, I'm going to lose this client. If I say no, I'm not going to have rent this month, or I'm going to this or to that. And I just kind of have a good support system outside the industry where I know if the biggest fear of anybody is just failure or just I failed or whatever, I know I'll be okay. And that's kind of the factor that, you know, keeps me sane. And it's just like, if I need to say no to this, I'll still be okay. The people I care about will still care about me and support me. I'm good. And reminding yourself that, because sometimes you forget that. And it's just like, for me, it's being around family, and my family doesn't care what I do. They would cheer if I did anything. They would cheer if I won a basketball game at the YMCA. Like they don't care what I do. They're just very supportive as long as I'm happy, whatever. So that's kind of a very grounding force for me. If it's to the point where I'm losing sleep and weight and business over it, it might be time to put up a wall. Just walk away. I wouldn't say put up a wall. I wouldn't burn a bridge, but maybe walk away for the time being.
Yeah, that's super healthy and like a great thing to have. I think and this is maybe, I think when it comes to like mental health, regardless of who you are or what you do or who's around you, people can forget, like they can isolate themselves because they feel like any struggle they have, they don't want to burden others with. And this is just, I'm just sort of highlighting something here because you've got a great support system with your family where it sounds as though, hey, if something's going on, you know they've got your back. If you need a vent or you've got that space where they won't judge you, it's healthy. People who are listening should be surprised to know that if you've got something going on, you've got a problem, you're not a burden on others that are close to you to just ask for 2 minutes of their time. Because most people would rather be there just even as an ear for you to get any frustration out or just
Yeah.
listen to help you rather than that bottle up inside and you further isolate yourself. Because I see it a lot in the music industry where people do that. They cop it on the chin hard. They don't say anything. It bottles up, it festers, and it leads to unhappy people who it's a sad and unfortunate events which happen. And I don't like seeing that. So I think it's really nice and beautiful to hear your
Yeah.
sort of system. And that's great. And I can say I'm a beneficiary of that as well because I've had my family support me and my wife. So, like that's amazing. That's really good.
Yeah,
Understanding boundaries.
it's something like within recent that I like remembered of like, oh, like I'm have this amazing like I'm from the East Coast and I'm in LA. So it's like also that physical distance of being away from your family. It's like sometimes you forget. And it's like I don't know for me and maybe other people have felt this too, but because of the work I do and the people I work with, there's a sense of confidentiality that like I want to uphold. Like the normal today at work, you wouldn't believe so and so did this. That hits different for me just on an ethical level. Like I'm not gonna be like, I was in the session with da 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 and they did da da. Like it's not to me, there's a gray area. There's a very gray area, and like having a support system that you can trust to relay enough that it will have some sort of release for you personally is something that I'm remembering. I think I was definitely a bottled up type, and still might be on some days where it's just like I'm dealing with this and I don't want to bother this person with this. I can't tell people this. I can't do that. Like this is not good for Ben and all of that. So it's definitely like a day by day, but overall that's the mentality of like relying on your support system and releasing it to some extent because it definitely needs to happen.
That's awesome. That's a really like great thing to highlight because I think what we experience in the music industry is agnostic to whatever level you're at, whether you're starting out as a runner or you're CLA and you're doing
Yeah.
like going crazy on everything. It's agnostic. We all feel it, and it's good to just highlight that and make sure people don't feel alienated. I'm really curious on logistical support system because I can't recall or not. Do you have a manager at the moment?
I do. I have a manager that's helping me. We just recently started working together. Yeah. Her name is Devaney Crawford. She manages Earl Sweatshirt and Fauna Hughes. She's a really amazing person. Yeah.
And the reason why I ask is I think there are a lot of professionals who are like in this balance of like, I need to have a manager, I need to get a manager, or I don't need a manager, I can do it myself. I'm curious for myself, like for you, what carries through to that decision? What are you hoping blossoms from this?
I think it's because when I was looking into it, it was to a point where the business was affecting me personally. And I knew that I couldn't handle certain business ventures without a personal cloud over it or a bias cloud over it. I couldn't it was something that was said to me by a very close person to me. And it's a very real thing that I'm trying to unlearn at the moment. But she was like, you're looking at your day rate of how somebody values you as a person. And that really stuck with me because I was just like, she was like, at some point, your value as a person became a number, and that's not really a good place to be in. And once that was kind of said to me, I was like, I'm too personally invested in this is to do good business. And so that came to like, okay, I need to step back and reach out to somebody that I trust to be able to have these conversations with me while I unlearn this process of years in the industry of having to justify your importance and justify your work and try to get money for work that's already been done and like just that whole spiel of being an engineer and what that is. And it finally got to a point in my career where it made sense. And so ideally the goal is to not only handle that part and be able to just kind of more focus on craft and mixing, not have to worry about chasing invoices and logistics or that matter, but also just looking into someone who's actively trying to help you get more work while you have your own personal goals. You know, you can have your social media posts and your meta ads and things of that nature, but also someone who's behind the scenes that has their own network of A&Rs and labels who, you know, there's a lot of work where people, it might just stay within the offices of places or on certain Rolodex of certain people, and you might be able to find work that way. So that's kind of the goal, is to be able to have outreach that I don't have to actively do, but also someone that can just make my business side a little bit more, I don't know how easier, I guess, on my end. Easier is just the best word I get to describe it.
Yeah. That's super interesting because I fight with that personally all the time. If I have a
Hmm.
killer month, I feel like a king. I'm like,
Yeah.
I am on top of the world. I'm the best mastering engineer ever, you know, blah, 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 blah. And you know what's funny? I'll go on holidays with the family for like 2 weeks. And that month will, obviously I'm not working for 2 weeks, but I will look at my P&L for the month and I'll be like, far out.
Yeah.
I'm shit. I am like, what the, and it's like that's really unhealthy. I'm really happy how you've articulated that, or that friend of yours articulated that to you, is like a really good framing, because I think it's as real and as raw and as simple to the core problem of it.
Yeah.
On the, so that's good to hear about the management. I really, really hope that works out and like you kick some goals with,
Same
was it
for
the
Ma-
manager's name?
Dev. Her name's Dev.
Dev. Man, sorry, names all mixed up.
All good.
Okay, so I got that side of it. I'm curious. You've went from Chicago to LA,
Hmm.
and then you know you're coming up, meeting artists, tracking, recording, producing, mixing. How did you even organize the business side when you started out?
Very poorly. And it's something that I'm getting together now, which, if just being very transparent, I was just 19. I was like, yeah, I'll do Cash Apps and Venmos and whatever. And then when it was come time to like my first year to do taxes, which fortunately was my first year where I only was doing audio stuff to support myself, I was like, oh, this is not organized well. Like, I need to get better at this. And so introduction of like QuickBooks and invoicing properly and keeping track of just spending and setting up a LLC and getting a debit card and building business credit and personal credit, and that it's kind of a step by step thing that I'm still optimizing, I guess would be the word, of that will be most beneficial to me just in the long run of one day's wanting to buy a house or do, you know, support a family like you're doing for yourself. It's the career part of it. I'm learning it as I go. And a lot of it I learned from, fortunately, my friends, headache included, was a big one of like this turning from a passion to a job to a career. That whole line of, yeah, how that works. It's kind of just a slow process that I've still been working on, and just really paying more attention to now more than ever, of not only just business and things being kept in time, but also branding. Just observing people who I like and people who I know and people who I think like either aesthetically or for their work that I admire. And that can be people who I've never met that I think are just putting out really good records, and people who I consider my peers who I feel are more in reach, I guess, but like I admire how they do things. One of them is her name is Samantha Henry. She's Tyga's engineer. She's a really great engineer that I met when I was working at a studio in downtown, and she was actually room assisting at the time, and she did playback. She was the first person I knew that did playback and like was able to kind of break it down to me, and she had since became one of Tyga's recording engineers, and I think she just mixed the last record he put out. I think she does amazing work, and like her online presence or whatever. I think we were kind of able to just chop it up as friends, and she was kind of to give me her advice on what she learned on the business side of it. Yeah, so I think it's observing peers, slowly taking it step by step to protect yourself, and then just kind of optimizing it once you get that foundation of what you need.
Yeah. And just as a quick fire, what are things that you would never do again when you're starting your business, like cash apps? Like what's like if you could hot fire a list of like, I will not do this, I would not do this, I would not do this. What would you tell people?
Not pay your taxes. I would I would not set up an LLC and just get some separation between your personal finances and your business. And then I would just not keep track, even if you're gonna just keep doing Cash Apps and Venmos and Zelles and be flexible as you can to people. Just properly keeping record of that as months go by. I find that like if you do it more on a quarterly basis, that has helped me. Just especially as we talked about, you'll have a great month and then nothing or something very much significant, like significantly less than the month prior. So as you fluctuate, it kind of makes everything less daunting because it's already taken care of as you progress throughout the year.
Okay. That's awesome. Nice. Nice. And then the other thing I recognize when you're discussing that is that like you're very observant, and I think that's how you learn. I think. I don't know. You can tell me,
Yes.
Nick, you're
No,
wrong.
no, no,
But
no,
I'm
yes.
like everything you've discussed from what you do in the studio to how you interact and react with artists is very like I'm going to look and see my surroundings and then take that in rather than you did say you did some like book reading and learning earlier on when you were trying to get your chops up, but it doesn't seem like that is a common theme where you just sit down and bury yourself into a book. It's more like I need to get out into the world and see what others are doing and be inspired and react to the people around me and interact with the people around me. And that's sort of like what I'm seeing as your main learning mechanism and growing mechanism. That also takes a particular personality because not everybody is confident enough or comfortable enough to do that. I know when I go to NAM, it's not uncommon for me to get DMs from engineers and producers who recognize me but wouldn't come up to me. They're like,
Mhm.
Nick, we saw you there, just thank you, blah, blah. I'm like, oh man, I would have just loved if they had just that little bit of confidence to come and say, hey,
Mhm.
because I recognize that's maybe because we're in closed rooms and we don't see the outside world. We're a bit more like that. But like, do you find that's a natural personality or something that you've had to like sort of step out of yourself to be like, I need to put myself out there in that way?
It's natural, I think, for this. I wouldn't
Okay.
say in other aspects of my life, I'm like hey, hi, my name is Jada. How are you doing? Like, even in certain networking events, like, I'm not the best at, but it's definitely me stepping outside of myself and being like, okay, if you want, you're here for a reason. And it's like, let's make the most of it if you're here. And I think, like, from when I was in college and even interning, like, I just wanted it so bad that I didn't mind looking a little thirsty for it or whatever, just because that's what I wanted. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to learn. And so I think that's kind of where that is that's what that's rooted in terms of like observing or whatever. I'm kind of like that because I think that that's more natural to me. It's like sitting back and observing and learning and then implementing. Like even when I was an intern, there were some engineers that would always roll blunts every time they had a session, but they always needed scissors and a cup of water to like take the backwood. So like I would just make sure that was already in the room, but I got that from just observing and being like, oh, this can already be set up for them by the time they get here. So they're going to ask me for it anyway. So I might as well just have it for them. And so like that always just evolutionized. Like, I think that's just how I am. I'm like that way with my friends. I'm like, oh, I know your Starbucks order. I'm gonna just grab you one. I'm gonna just like, that's just the kind of person I am. And it's just really helpful that that benefits me in my job. Yeah. So the observing part, natural. The outgoingness, I would say, is a little just passion fueled rather than natural.
That's a healthy passion to feel
Yeah.
like. I notice like it's if you have to force yourself to like this job, you will never love it.
Yeah, it's not a good if you were just here just to make money or just to whatever, you can go do there's many more jobs that you can do that are much more guaranteed for you to get that. It's
And you'll
not
get
a
depressed very quickly.
yeah, it's also
Yeah.
like this is like a it's there's so much behind the scenes, like not only just like things you have to go through, but also just like we were talking about earlier, the mental toll of like I'm great, I'm doing well, this is terrible, I suck, the imposter syndrome, all that good stuff where it's just like, it can be such a burden that if you don't love it, it can just be very easy to be like, I don't want, this isn't worth it. But to people who are here, it is very much worth it to them because they love it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something super special about listening to music. Like, there's something so, like, cathartic. I don't know how to explain it, but, like,
Yeah.
getting into the studio, hitting play, and then just feeling the music, like, come into the room, and then you just
Were you like that as a kid? Because I was.
I just enjoyed music. You know what it was?
Mhm.
We had a piano from a very young age in the house. It was my mum's one from when she was a kid, and that went into her house. So it was always like something there physically and tangibly that we could play and feel. And then
Mhm.
whenever there's music, you engage with it. And just as a job, it's just so amazing that, like,
Yeah.
I get to, like, how many jobs do you get to feel a sensation like that? Like, if you're a plumber, you're s- like, you're smelling shit. Like, you can be a great plumber, but you're smelling shit. Like, if you're an accountant, you're looking at spreadsheets all day, and you
Mhm.
might be great at it, you might be passionate about it, but there's like that. There's no like emotional connectivity to.
Yeah.
ah,
I get it. I have a lot of friends like now in like film and stuff just from being in the industry, and it's like I can get the other side of it because when I watch movies, I'm like, this is a movie. I watch movie like the general public, but like they're like, no, this is that and this aspect and director and the backhand and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm really happy for you for this because I'm the same way about music where I'm like playing songs for my friend. I'm like, do you feel that? And they're like, yeah, it's a good song or whatever. I'm like, no, but do you feel that? Like that's
yeah,
so like it's just like sometimes just like an indescribable like it's just indescribable, I don't know, and it's a privilege to be able to do it for a career.
yeah. No, it's beautiful. Actually, I'm thinking of something. Um, and if I get this wrong, please forgive me.
Okay.
Did you do the mix on Nosebleeds at all?
No, so that was my friend Brian Schwaller who absolutely killed it. The rough
Yeah.
so the producer's name is Jonas. His roughs sound so amazing, like, out of this world.
Okay.
Because we were at the Grammys when Nosebleeds was getting mixed, and I was at the Grammys in the back helping with sound. So I called him because he helped mix a good part of the project. Mine is somebody I met in Chicago. He works with Raven Lene. He's just a really great engineer, also a friend of Headaches. And I was like, "Hey, bro, uh, we need this rush done like tonight. Can I'll send you the stems right now. Can you do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, for sure. Like, let's do it." And he just knocked it
Okay.
out of the park. I was literally referenced it in my AirPod Maxes in the trailer and was like, nailed it. I think I had like two notes. He fixed it, and then we sent it to mastering. Um,
That's crazy because the vocal phrases and the amount of the way that's been produced and chopped up and flows from section to section,
yeah,
the vocals in it give me that emotional, like, sort of like it
it's
like
really good.
I cannot not listen to it and feel just like the vocal in it. I
Hmm.
just wanted to say, like, that's like a direct sort of like correlation where I'll listen to a song and I'll get that feeling I get in the studio when I'm working on a record. Oh
Mm.
wow. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
sorry I miscredited you there. I was
no,
like,
it's
oh, I'm not
fine.
being
That's
a
all.
good.
I rather credit the proper
Yeah, no,
people.
of
That's all
course.
Jonas and Brian. Jonas and Brian for sure.
Yeah, they killed it.
Killed
They
it.
killed
Yeah.
it. But yeah, that was like an example of that feeling, which I just thought I'd share with you. I'm like, this is what made me feel that. Because I heard that actually the day after the Grammys. 'Cause I went to the Grammys too. The day after, I'm flying back. It dropped the morning of the day after.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And I was listening to that in the airport lounge, and I'm like, holy shit,
Hmm.
good job. Cool. So now I've got one note here I wasn't planning to go over until we had a bit of a chat before we jumped on this. You're setting up a new space right now.
Exciting.
What goes talk the tech. Let's just get into a bit of a nerd before we wrap this up. How are you setting up this space?
I'm still like I'm going back and forth on this hybrid thing that I have in my head that I think I might want to try out. I'm about to go on tour next month, so I still need somewhat of a flexible rig to record and to mix on. I really have been navigating towards the Neve orbit for summing for quite some time now. I've been fortunate enough to work on a board of the Rupert Neve Designs board. There's one in Belgium at this studio called Daft Studios, and I love the sound. I love the roundness of it, and I think with the right converters, you can still get the pokiness, but have a more rounded mix. So I'm interested to try that out. I'm looking to upgrade to a Lynx interface. I've heard nothing but good things, and Brian actually has one, and we worked through it when we were mixing the project, and I really like the conversions on there. And yeah, I have a set of 4-inch Neumann speakers right now. I had some 7-inch Adams that I'm looking to upgrade. What I would love to get is a pair of ATCs, but I'm kind of looking for something a little bit more budget friendly for now, but the whole Alligator Bright Summer Hill was done on ATCs and then Augsburgers. ATCs were my secondary. Well, really main, and the Augsburgers were the secondary, but I really liked ATCs. I've been working on them since I've come out to LA. And I think those paired with the right sub that you can toggle on and off is just a good combination for me. I love that. And then once that happens, something that I've been looking into for a while is, I believe it's Craneborn makes a 500 series that is ADAT, which is summing, but also can be connected through like digitally, which is great
Oh,
because you don't need, an interface that has, X amount of inputs. You can work with something as small as an Apollo Twin and expand that digitally through ADAT. So it's something that I've been thinking about for getting some 500 series effects units. I love the Mag EQ, the 4-band one. So getting a pair of those possibly. Just kind of really, I'm in a very experimental phase, but some sort of hybrid flexible setup that I can take units in and out of, possibly put the, meat and potatoes on the road in a smaller rack unit and take on. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then of course, like probably the thing that I need to figure out right now is acoustic treatment and how I want to treat the room and stuff. But once that kind of happens, it's kind of hitting the ground running with here and seeing what, I don't know, will be fun and cool to try.
yeah. So the meat and bones of it is like the Neve summing
Hmm.
and digital I/O and flexibility with the
Yeah,
ADAT.
I think that's important for me, especially as like I'm really trying to lean into. We've talked about it, just taking on new mixing clients and being able to offer them something of even higher quality, I guess.
Yeah. Something maybe if you haven't already looked into, the RME interfaces.
I'll take
They're
a look into them.
take a look. They're like on paper, like spec.
Hmm.
Price I don't look at, and I don't think it's all that dear in if you're looking at links as well. But
Hmm.
spec wise,
Okay.
like their performance is mind blastingly good.
I'll have to take a look into them.
Yeah, take a look at the RME. So performance for the clients, more mixing clients. I'm really excited to see where all this takes you. Like we
Thank
can we
you.
can like we can do like a double episode today, but I'm not gonna hold you down too long because I've literally just been like I do this every episode. I just like mind
This
map
is
everything.
That's so cool. You should like digitize them, like your notes, and like put them alongside the episode. I think that'd be. I love watching people how they like take notes. It's like showing how people's brains think. I think it's
Yeah,
so
I
fascinating.
think that's not a bad idea just for this episode because you've requested. I'll
No, no,
take a
you don't
photo
have
of
to.
this. No, it's like there's so much in here. Like I have mind mapped and like some of the notes are like I'll give you an example. I'm like your ability to rock up and be regimented and whatnot is from your dad's sporting background. Like I've got these notes here about like just like everything mapped about what we've spoken about, and it's been really incredible. I think maybe what you deserve before we wrap up is I want to know, or I want to give you the platform to share, like what's going on in your world right now that you're proud of, that you're working towards. If there's anything people should be aware of, and yeah, like just give you that platform to like share that.
Yeah, I think in my world, transparently, I'm working on being able to showcase my work more. I think I've been plagued with the overthinker over judgment. Even when something is approved and out, I still, operate on that premise of, a mix is never done. It's just out at some point. And so I think I look back on the last couple of years of my career and realize I haven't like shared my segment or my contribution to that thing that is out. So that's something that I'm working towards to do. And hopefully in return to that, my work gets in front of a bunch of people who may not know me and maybe getting introduced to me and want to work in the future. I really gravitate towards artists who are building towards something. It might be independent or just signed to an indie label or things of that nature. And I hope that attracts those people of showing the work of people who I've grown with and who have grown alongside myself might want to replicate that. So showcasing that, putting myself and my face more present, wherever that be on social media or on platforms like this. Just, yeah, kind of putting myself more out there after the work is done, in front of the scenes rather than behind the scenes. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking forward to making more records with more new people and building, long relationships with new people and taking on new projects and new humps and just, continuing to build with people. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, I hope we all get to see that. Like, I think the core of showing your work is amazing and people are going to love it, but also the building with others. I think you've already been doing it behind the scenes and people have been enjoying it, but to see that progress and elapse over time moving into the future, I think people are going to really enjoy, and there's a lot of value there to be had. So with that, your Instagram handle's a tricky one because there's letters and numbers and
There's
whatnot
one
in it.
number. There's
It's
one
an O.
number.
It's an O,
Yeah.
which is a 0. It's at, I didn't want to misrepresent it. It's at Jayda L 0 VE, correct?
Yes, sorry. Jayda Love just normal was taken. Apologies. So was Jayda.Love. I'll check again to
No,
see if it is, but it's Jayda 0 VE. We're working on
no,
it.
lovely. That's all good, and you can find it there. And look, I really want to thank you for today's episode because this is like my learning opportunity to understand and expand my horizon as well as anybody who listens. So thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to not only have me, but like, look into me and ask very, very good conversational questions. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. I'll just pause that and I can edit the end out, I think. Where are we? Where do I stop recording? There it is.